When 78-year-old Dorothy Williams shuffled through the crowd at the United Center that March evening, she carried more than just an old photograph in her shaking hands. She carried a secret that had taken her 6 years to reveal. A promise made on a magical night in 1998 that would finally come full circle. What happened next left Michael Jordan speechless, and 500 people in stunned silence. The crumpled photo of a young boy in a faded Bulls jersey triggered memories that Jordan thought were lost forever. But this wasn't just any boy. This was Marcus Williams. And his story would prove that sometimes the most important promises are kept in ways we never expect. The United Center buzzed with excitement on this cold March evening in 2024. 500 people filled the arena for the annual Hoops for Hope charity basketball game. Kids ran around wearing their favorite team jerseys. Parents held up phones to take pictures. Local news reporters chatted with their cameras ready. Michael Jordan walked through the crowd like he owned the place. At 61 years old, he still looked like he could grab a basketball and show everyone how it was done. His black suit was perfect. His smile was bright. Every few steps, someone would stop him for a picture or an autograph. "Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan," kids called out from every direction. Jordan never said no. He signed basketballs, jerseys, and pieces of paper. He posed for selfies with teenagers who knew him from YouTube videos and documentaries. He high-fived little kids who barely came up to his waist. "You keep practicing," he told a boy who looked about 10 years old. "Work hard every day." The boy's eyes went wide. He nodded so hard his Bulls cap almost fell off. Jordan had been doing events like this for years. He loved giving back to kids who needed hope. Basketball had given him everything. Now he wanted to share that gift with others. The charity game was about to start. Players from local high schools were warming up on the court. Jordan would coach one team. A former Chicago Bears player would coach the other team. All the money raised tonight would go to after-school programs in Chicago. As Jordan signed more autographs near the court, something caught his eye. An old woman was making her way slowly through the crowd. She looked like she was having trouble walking. People moved out of her way, but no one offered to help. The woman was small and thin. Her gray hair was pulled back in a neat bun. She wore a purple coat that had seen better days. In her right hand, she held a wooden cane. Her left hand was tucked deep in her coat pocket. Jordan watched her for a moment. She seemed to be looking right at him. Her eyes were focused and determined, like she was on a mission. "Excuse me," Jordan said to the family he was talking to. "I'll be right back." But before he could move toward the old woman, she had made her way to him. Up close, Jordan could see she was probably in her late 70s. Her face showed years of hard work and worry, but her eyes were kind and gentle. "Mr. Jordan," she said quietly. Her voice was soft, almost lost in the noise of the crowd. "I have something for you." Jordan turned his full attention to her. His famous smile spread across his face. "Of course. What can I do for you?" The woman's hand was shaking as she reached into her coat pocket. The people around them kept talking and laughed, not paying attention to what was happening. "I've been waiting a long time to give this to you," she said. Jordan waited patiently. He had learned over the years that sometimes the quiet moments with fans meant the most. This woman had something important to say. He could tell. Her fingers fumbled in her pocket for what seemed like forever. Finally, she pulled out something small and fat. It was a photograph, but it was old and wrinkled. The edges were yellow and curled. It looked like it had been folded and unfolded many times. "This is for you," she said, holding it out with both hands. Jordan took the photo carefully. The moment he looked at it, everything around him seemed to stop. The noise of the crowd faded away. The bright arena lights seemed to dim. The photo showed a young boy, maybe 12 years old. He was wearing a faded Chicago Bulls jersey with the number 23 on it. His arms were thin, but he held a basketball like it was the most precious thing in the world. The boy was smiling, but there was something serious in his eyes, something that spoke of big dreams and hard work. Jordan stared at the photo. His hands began to shake, just like the old woman's had been shaking. His breathing became shallow. The smile disappeared from his face completely. People in the crowd started to notice that something was happening. A few pointed at Jordan. Others stopped their conversations to look. "Where did you get this?" Jordan whispered. His voice was so quiet that only the old woman could hear him. She smiled. but there were tears starting to form in her eyes. "That's my grandson, Marcus. He said you'd remember him." Jordan's eyes filled with tears. He looked up from the photo to stare at the woman. Then he looked back at the photo, then back at her. The crowd around them had gone completely silent now. 500 people were watching, but no one understood what was happening. They just knew it was something important. Something that was making Michael Jordan cry. Jordan's hands were trembling as he held the photo. A tear rolled down his cheek, then another. He tried to speak, but no words came out. The old woman reached out and gently touched his arm. "It's okay," she said softly. "He wanted you to have this back. Marcus." Jordan finally managed to say. His voice cracked when he said the name. "Oh my God, Marcus." The woman nodded. "Yes, Marcus Williams. You met him a long time ago." Jordan closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, more tears flowed. He looked around at all the people staring at them. Kids, parents, reporters with their cameras. Everyone was watching Michael Jordan cry over an old photograph. But he didn't care who was watching. Something about this photo, this moment, had broken through all his defenses. The man who had faced down the biggest stars in basketball, who had performed under pressure in front of millions of people, was completely overwhelmed. "Where is he?" Jordan asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Where is Marcus now?" The old woman smiled through her own tears. She turned slightly and pointed toward the back of the crowd. There, standing behind a group of teenagers, was a man in a wheelchair. He looked to be in his late 30s. His face was older and more weathered than the boy in the photo, but Jordan recognized him immediately. It was Marcus. After all these years, Jordan's breath caught in his throat. The photo slipped from his fingers and fluttered to the ground. Someone in the crowd gasped. The old woman bent down slowly and picked up the photo. She handed it back to Jordan with a gentle smile. "He said you'd remember him," she repeated. "Were you right?" Jordan took the photo back, holding it like it might disappear at any moment. He looked from the picture to Marcus and back again. Finally, he found his voice. "Yes," he said, tears still flowing. "I remember everything. June 1998. 26 years earlier." The roar of the crowd still echoed in Michael Jordan's ears as he walked through the dark hallways under the United Center. Game 6 of the NBA Finals was over. The Chicago Bulls had just beaten the Utah Jazz to win their 6th championship. Jordan had scored 45 points in what everyone thought might be his last game ever. The celebration in the locker room had been amazing. Champagne everywhere, teammates hugging and crying, reporters asking a million questions. But now, 2 hours later, Jordan just wanted to go home and think about everything that had happened. He pushed open the back door of the arena. The cool night air felt good on his face. Most of the fans had gone home already. The parking lot was almost empty except for a few cars and some security guards. But as Jordan walked toward his car, he heard something that made him stop. The sound of a basketball bouncing on concrete, sneakers squeaking on the ground. Someone was playing basketball in the parking lot. Jordan looked around and saw them. A group of kids, maybe 6 or 7 of them, playing under one of the tall streetlights. They had set up a portable basketball hoop. The light was dim, but they didn't seem to care. Most of the kids looked like they were in middle school. They wore old sneakers and shirts that had been washed too many times. But they played with more heart than some professional players Jordan had seen. Jordan stood in the shadows and watched. He was tired, but something about these kids made him curious. They reminded him of himself when he was young, playing basketball until his mother called him home for dinner. One boy caught his attention right away. He was smaller than the others, maybe 12 years old. His Bulls jersey was faded and had a small hole near the bottom. The number 23 was barely visible, but the way he moved reminded Jordan of himself. The boy had the same focus, the same determination. When he shot the ball, his tongue stuck out slightly, just like Jordan did. When the bigger kids pushed him around, he didn't give up. He just worked harder. "Come on, Marcus," one of the other kids yelled. "You're too small. Give up." But Marcus didn't give up. He stole the ball from a boy twice his size and made a perfect jump shot. The other kids groaned, but they were smiling too. They respected him. The game went on for another 10 minutes. Marcus was clearly the best player, even though he was the smallest. He moved like he had been playing basketball his whole life. He saw passes that other kids missed. He made shots that should have been impossible. Finally, the other kids started to leave. One by one, they grabbed their backpacks and headed home. Soon, only Marcus was left under the streetlight. But he didn't leave. Instead, he started shooting by himself. Over and over, he dribbled to different spots and took shots. When he missed, he ran to get the ball and tried again. When he made a shot, he moved to a harder spot. Jordan watched for another 5 minutes. This kid had something special. Not just skill, but heart. The kind of heart that couldn't be taught. Finally, Jordan stepped out of the shadows and walked toward the boy. Marcus was concentrating on a difficult shot when he heard footsteps. He turned around and nearly dropped the basketball. "Mr. Jordan," he gasped. "I can't believe it's really you." Jordan smiled. Up close, he could see that Marcus was even younger than he thought. Maybe 11 or 12. His face was thin, but his eyes were bright and full of life. "You're a pretty good kid," Jordan said. "I was watching you play." Marcus's mouth fell open. "You were watching me? Really? Really? You've got skills. How long have you been playing?" "Since I was 5, Marcus said proudly. "My dad taught me before he died. Now I practice every day after school." Jordan's expression became more serious. "Your dad died?" Marcus nodded. "Him and my mom. Car accident 4 years ago. I live with my grandma now. Her name is Dorothy." "I'm sorry to hear that," Jordan said gently. "That must be really hard." "It's okay," Marcus said, trying to sound brave. "Grandma takes good care of me. She works 2 jobs so I can have basketball shoes and stuff. She even comes to my games sometimes when she's not working." Jordan was impressed by how mature this boy was. Most kids his age would be crying or angry about losing their parents. But Marcus seemed focused on moving forward. "What's your dream, Marcus?" Jordan asked. The boy's face lit up. "I want to play in the NBA, just like you. I want to win championships and make people happy. I practice every single day, even when it's cold or raining." "That's a big dream," Jordan said. "Are you willing to work for it?" "Yes, sir, I'll work harder than anybody. I promise." Jordan looked at this skinny kid, with the big dreams and the bigger heart. Something about Marcus reminded him of himself at that age. Poor, determined, willing to do whatever it took to succeed. "What school do you go to?" Jordan asked. "Dunbar High School will be my high school," Marcus said. "That's where all the good basketball players go in my neighborhood." Jordan nodded. He knew Dunbar. It was a tough school in a tough part of Chicago, but they had a good basketball program. "Listen, Marcus," Jordan said, kneeling down so they were eye to eye. "I want to make you a deal." Marcus's eyes got even wider. "A deal? With you? Here's what I want you to do. Keep working hard. Keep believing in your dreams. Study hard in school. Not just basketball. Be a good person. Help your grandmother. And never give up. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir," Marcus said immediately. "If you do all those things, I promise I'll help you get to college. I'll make sure you get a scholarship to a good school. You'll have your chance to play college basketball and maybe even make it to the NBA." Marcus looked like he might faint. "You really mean it? You'd help me?" "I really mean it," Jordan said. "But you have to keep your part of the deal. Work hard, stay out of trouble, and never stop believing in yourself." Jordan pulled out his wallet and found a piece of paper. He wrote his personal phone number on it and handed it to Marcus. "When you turn 18 and graduate from high school, call me. We'll make it happen." Marcus took the paper like it was made of gold. "I'll keep this forever," he whispered. Jordan smiled and pulled an old camera out of his car. "Let me take a picture of you. Something to remember this night." Marcus stood proudly, holding his basketball. Jordan took the photo and waited for it to develop. When it was ready, he handed it to Marcus. "Keep this," Jordan said. "Look at it whenever you need to remember that dreams can come true." Marcus stared at the photo of himself. In the dim streetlight, he looked older than his 12 years. He looked like someone who was ready to work for his dream. "Thank you, Mr. Jordan," Marcus said, his voice shaking with emotion. "I won't let you down. I promise." Jordan stood up and put his hand on Marcus's shoulder. "I believe in you, kid. Just remember what I said. Work hard, stay focused, and call me when you're ready." As Jordan walked back to his car, he felt good about what he had just done. Something told him this boy was special. Something told him that Marcus Williams would keep his promise. But as he drove away, Jordan had no idea how difficult Marcus's journey would become. He had no idea that sometimes even when you work as hard as you can, life has other plans. He had no idea that it would be 26 years before he saw Marcus Williams again. 19. Marcus Williams kept Michael Jordan's promise folded in his wallet every single day. The piece of paper with Jordan's phone number became worn and soft from being touched so many times. The photo Jordan took stayed on his bedroom wall, right above his pillow where he could see it first thing every morning. Dorothy Williams worked harder than any grandmother should have to work. Every morning at 5 o'clock she left their small apartment to clean office buildings downtown. She scrubbed floors, emptied trash cans, and wiped down windows until noon. Then she came home, made Marcus lunch, and went to her second job at Morrison's grocery store. "Grandma, you don't have to work so hard," Marcus would tell her when he saw how tired she was. But Dorothy would just smile and pat his cheek. "Baby, your dreams are worth working for. Your mama and daddy would want me to help you succeed." Their neighborhood on Chicago's South Side was not an easy place to grow up. Gang members stood on street corners selling drugs. Police sirens wailed through the night. Some of Marcus's friends from elementary school had already dropped out of middle school to make money in dangerous ways. But Marcus stayed focused on basketball. Every day after school, he walked 10 blocks to the Garfield Community Center. The building was old and falling apart. In winter, there was no heat. In summer, there was no air conditioning. But it had a basketball court, and that was all Marcus needed. He practiced alone most of the time. He worked on his dribbling until his hands were raw. He hot free throws until it was too dark to see the basket. He ran drills that he remembered from watching NBA games on television. Marcus started high school at Dunbar in the fall of 1999. The school was tough, but the basketball coach, Mr. Rodriguez, saw something special in Marcus right away. "Williams," Coach Rodriguez called out during Marcus's first practice. "Where did you learn to shoot like that?" "I taught myself, Coach," Marcus said. "I practice every day." "Well, keep doing whatever you're doing. You're gonna help us win some games." Marcus made the varsity team as a freshman, which almost never happened at Dunbar. The older players weren't happy about it at first. "Look at this little kid," said Jerome, a senior who was 6 feet tall. "He thinks he can play with us." But after Marcus beat Jerome in a one-on-one game during practice, the older players started to respect him. Marcus was small, but he was faster and smarter than most of them. By his sophomore year, Marcus was the team's leading scorer. Local newspapers started writing articles about the skinny kid from the South Side who played basketball like Michael Jordan. College scouts began showing up to Dunbar's games. "You're going places, Marcus," Coach Rodriguez told him, after a game where Marcus scored 35 points. "Just keep working hard and stay out of trouble." But staying out of trouble was getting harder every year. Marcus's best friend from childhood, Deshaun, had joined a gang called the Vice Lords. Deshaun kept trying to get Marcus to join too. "Man, you could make more money in 1 week with us than your grandma makes in a month," Deshaun said one day after school. "Basketball is just a game. This is real life." "Basketball is my real life," Marcus told him. "I'm going to college, and then I'm going to the NBA." Deshaun laughed. "You really think some rich college is going to care about a kid from our neighborhood? Wake up, Marcus. We're never getting out of here." But Marcus didn't listen. He kept Jordan's phone number in his wallet and the photo on his wall. Every time someone told him his dreams were impossible, he looked at that picture and remembered what Jordan had said. "Keep believing in yourself." Dorothy supported Marcus in every way she could. When his basketball shoes got holes in them, she worked extra shifts to buy new ones. When the team needed money for uniforms, she organized bake sales and car washes. When Marcus needed to attend summer basketball camps, she borrowed money from her church. "Grandma, I'm going to pay you back for everything someday," Marcus promised her. "Baby, seeing you chase your dreams is payment enough," Dorothy said. "Your parents would be so proud." The community center where Marcus practiced was having problems too. Gang members had broken the windows twice. Someone had spray-painted graffiti all over the walls. The city was talking about closing it down because there wasn't enough money to fix everything. Marcus couldn't let that happen. The community center was where he had learned to play basketball. It was where younger kids came to stay off the streets. "We need to do something," Marcus told Dorothy one night. "If they close the center, kids won't have anywhere safe to play." Together, Marcus and Dorothy organized fundraisers to save the community center. Marcus played in exhibition games to raise money. Dorothy convinced local businesses to donate supplies. Slowly, they raised enough money to fix the windows and paint over the graffiti. By his junior year, Marcus was averaging 28 points per game. College recruiters from Duke, UCLA, and the University of Illinois came to watch him play. They all wanted to offer him scholarships. "Marcus Williams is the most determined player I've ever seen," wrote a reporter from the Chicago Tribune. "Despite coming from a difficult background, he has maintained perfect grades and stayed out of trouble." Several major colleges are competing to recruit him. Marcus kept the newspaper article in his wallet, right next to Jordan's phone number. Everything was going exactly as he had planned. He would graduate from high school in 2004, accept a college scholarship, and call Michael Jordan to tell him the good news. Dorothy was so proud she could barely contain herself. She showed the newspaper article to everyone at work, at church, and in the neighborhood. "That's my grandson," she would say, with tears in her eyes. "He's going to be the first person in our family to go to college." Marcus's senior year started perfectly. College scouts came to every game. His grades were excellent. He was being recruited by some of the best basketball programs in the country. Coach Rodriguez said he had never seen a player work as hard as Marcus did. "You're going to have your pick of colleges," Coach Rodriguez told him in February of 2004. "Duke wants you. Illinois wants you. You could probably go anywhere you want." Marcus was finally ready to call Michael Jordan. In just 3 months, he would turn 18 and graduate from high school. He would accept a college scholarship and begin the journey toward his NBA dreams. Everything was perfect. Everything was going according to plan. Marcus had no idea that in 2 weeks his entire life would change forever. On May 15, 2004, just 2 weeks before graduation, Marcus stayed late at the community center to practice. He wanted to be in perfect shape for his final high school games. Dorothy was working her night shift at the office building downtown. At 9:30 p.m., Marcus locked up the community center and started walking home. The streets were quiet except for the distant sound of traffic. Marcus was thinking about which college scholarship to accept. Duke had offered him a full ride. Illinois wanted him to visit their campus next week. He was 3 blocks from home when he heard the sound of a car engine roaring behind him. Marcus stepped onto the sidewalk to let the car pass. But the car didn't slow down. The drunk driver ran the red light at full speed and jumped the curb. Marcus had no time to run, no time to scream, no time to think about his dreams or his grandmother or the phone number in his wallet. The car hit him at 45 miles per hour and kept going. When the ambulance arrived 20 minutes later, Marcus Williams was unconscious on the sidewalk. His dreams of college basketball and the NBA were lying broken beside him. Dorothy Williams was cleaning the bathroom on the 15th floor of the office building when her phone rang. She almost didn't answer it because she wasn't supposed to take personal calls during work. But something told her this call was important. "Hello?" she said, balancing the phone between her ear and shoulder while she continued scrubbing. "Is this Dorothy Williams?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, this is Dorothy. Who is this?" "This is Dr. Martinez from Cook County Hospital. Your grandson Marcus has been in an accident. You need to come to the hospital right away." Dorothy dropped her cleaning supplies. The bucket of soapy water spilled across the floor, but she didn't notice. Her heart felt like it had stopped beating. "What kind of accident? Is he okay? Please tell me he's okay." "Ma'am, I can't give you details over the phone. Can you get to the hospital?" Dorothy's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. "I don't have a car. I'll take the bus. I'm coming right now." She left everything at the office building and ran to the bus stop. The bus ride to Cook County Hospital felt like it took forever. Dorothy prayed the entire way, asking God to let Marcus be okay. When she finally reached the hospital, she ran to the emergency room desk. "My grandson Marcus Williams was brought here," she said, breathing hard. "Please, where is he?" The nurse looked at her computer. "Are you his legal guardian?" "Yes, I am. Please, just tell me if he's alive." "He's alive," the nurse said gently, "but he's in surgery right now. Dr. Martinez will talk to you when she's available." Dorothy sat in the waiting room for 6 hours. She couldn't eat. She couldn't sleep. She just sat there praying and thinking about Marcus. She thought about his dreams of playing college basketball. She thought about all the hard work he had done. She thought about the promise Michael Jordan had made to him. At 4 in the morning, Dr. Martinez finally came to the waiting room. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but her face looked very serious. "Mrs. Williams," Dr. Martinez said, sitting down next to Dorothy, "I need to talk to you about Marcus." "How bad is it?" Dorothy asked, even though she was afraid to hear the answer. "Marcus has severe injuries to his spine and legs. The car hit him very hard. We've done everything we can." But Dr. Martinez paused, choosing her words carefully. "Marcus will live, but he will never walk normally again. His basketball career is over." Dorothy felt like the world had collapsed around her. "Are you sure?" "Maybe with physical therapy." "I'm sorry, Mrs. Williams. The damage to his spine is too severe. Marcus will need to use a wheelchair or walk with canes for the rest of his life." "I know this is devastating news." Dorothy started crying. Not just tears, but deep, painful sobs that came from her heart. All of Marcus's dreams were gone in one terrible moment. "Can I see him?" she whispered. "He's still unconscious from the surgery, but you can sit with him." Dr. Martinez led Dorothy to Marcus's room. He looked so small lying in the hospital bed. His legs were in casts. Machines beeped around him. Tubes helped him breathe. Dorothy sat in the chair next to his bed and held his hand. "I'm here, baby," she whispered. "Grandma's here." Marcus didn't wake up for 2 days. When he finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Dorothy's worried face. "Grandma," he said weakly. "Yes, baby. I'm right here." Marcus tried to sit up, but he couldn't move his legs. He looked down at his body with confusion. "Why can't I feel my legs?" he asked. Dorothy started crying again. She had been dreading this moment for 2 days. "Marcus, honey, you were hit by a car. You're hurt pretty badly. But I'll get better, right? I have to graduate next week. Duke is expecting me in the fall." Dorothy couldn't speak. She just squeezed his hand tighter. Dr. Martinez came in and explained everything to Marcus. She told him about his injuries. She told him he would never play basketball again. She told him his life was going to be very different from now on. Marcus listened without saying a word. When Dr. Martinez finished, he turned his face toward the wall and closed his eyes. For the next 3 days, Marcus wouldn't talk to anyone. He wouldn't eat. He wouldn't do the physical therapy exercises. He just lay in bed staring at nothing. Dorothy tried everything to reach him. She brought him his favorite foods. She told him stories about his parents. She reminded him about all the kids at the community center who looked up to him. Nothing worked. Marcus had given up. One morning, Dorothy brought a small bag with her to the hospital. Inside were 2 things: the photo Michael Jordan had taken of Marcus, and the piece of paper with Jordan's phone number. "Look, Marcus," she said, showing him the photo. "Remember this night? Remember what Mr. Jordan told you?" Marcus glanced at the photo, then looked away. "That doesn't matter anymore, Grandma. I can't play basketball. I can't go to college. I'll never be anything." "That's not true, baby. You're still the same person." "No, I'm not," Marcus said angrily. It was the first time he had shown any emotion since the accident. "I'm broken. I'm useless. All those years of practice were for nothing." Dorothy's heart broke watching her grandson in so much pain. But she didn't give up. "What about all those kids at the community center?" she asked. "What about the younger players on your team who look up to you? They should find someone else to look up to," Marcus said bitterly. "Someone who isn't a failure." The scholarship offers disappeared one by one. Duke called to say they were sorry, but they had to give Marcus's scholarship to someone else. UCLA did the same thing. Illinois sent a nice letter, but the message was clear. They wanted basketball players, not inspiration stories. Coach Rodriguez visited Marcus in the hospital every day. "You can still be part of the team," he said. "You could help coach the younger players." But Marcus wasn't interested. "I don't want to be around basketball anymore," he said. "It just reminds me of everything I lost." Dorothy watched her grandson get more depressed every day. The boy who used to wake up excited about practice now didn't want to get out of bed. The boy who used to talk about his NBA dreams now said he didn't have any dreams left. One night, Dorothy sat alone in the hospital cafeteria, drinking coffee and thinking. She pulled out Jordan's phone number and stared at it. She wondered if she should call him. Maybe he could say something to help Marcus. But then she put the phone number away. Marcus had made her promise not to call Jordan. He was too proud to ask for help. Too embarrassed about how his life had turned out. "He forgot about me anyway, Grandma," Marcus had said. Why would Michael Jordan care about some kid from the projects who can't even walk? Dorothy knew that wasn't true. She had seen the look in Jordan's eyes that night in 1998. He had genuinely cared about Marcus. But she respected her grandson's wishes. 3 weeks after the accident, Marcus was finally released from the hospital. Dorothy had to learn how to take care of someone in a wheelchair. She had to figure out how to make their apartment accessible. She had to watch the boy she loved more than anything struggle to do simple things like get dressed or take a shower. Marcus came home to a pile of get well cards from his teammates, his classmates, and kids from the community center. But he threw them all in the trash without reading them. "I don't want people feeling sorry for me," he said. Dorothy picked the cards out of the trash after Marcus went to bed. She read every single one. Kids from the community center had written things like, "You're still my hero," and "Thank you for saving our basketball court." His teammates had written, "We'll never forget what you taught us," and "You're the best player we ever saw." But Marcus didn't want to hear any of it. He had decided that his life was over at 18 years old. Dorothy kept the photo and the phone number in her dresser drawer. She hoped that someday Marcus would want to remember the dreams he used to have. She hoped that someday he would find a reason to believe in himself again. But as the weeks turned into months, and Marcus sank deeper into depression, Dorothy began to wonder if her grandson would ever smile again. She had no idea that it would take years for Marcus to find his way back to basketball. She had no idea that when he did, it would be in a way that neither of them could have imagined. And she had no idea that she would carry Jordan's phone number and that precious photo with her for the next 20 years, waiting for the right moment to complete the story that had started on a magical night in 2004. The first year after the accident was the hardest year of Marcus Williams' life. He spent most days lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. The photo of himself with the basketball was gone from his wall. He had thrown it away along with everything else that reminded him of his old dreams. Dorothy tried everything to help Marcus feel better. She cooked his favorite meals, but he barely ate. She brought him books from the library, but he wouldn't read them. She invited friends to visit, but Marcus told her to send them away. "I don't want to see anybody," Marcus said whenever someone came to the door. "I don't want people looking at me like I'm broken." The worst part was watching other kids his age move on with their lives. Marcus's former teammates graduated and went to college. Some of them got basketball scholarships. Others found different paths, but they all moved forward while Marcus felt stuck. Dorothy had to quit one of her jobs to take care of Marcus. Money became even tighter than before. They could barely afford rent and groceries. But Dorothy never complained. She just worked harder at her remaining job and tried to stay positive. "Things will get better, baby," she would tell Marcus every morning. "You just have to give it time." But Marcus didn't believe her. "Better how, Grandma? I can't walk right. I can't play basketball. I can't do anything I used to do. How is that gonna get better?" Dorothy didn't have an answer for that. She just hugged him and hoped tomorrow would be a little easier. In 2005, Marcus finally agreed to try community college. He enrolled in basic classes but struggled to concentrate. His grades were terrible. After one semester, he dropped out. "College isn't for people like me," he told Dorothy. "I was only good at basketball. Without that, I'm nothing." Dorothy got angry for the first time since the accident. "Marcus Williams, don't you ever say that again. You are smart and kind and strong. Basketball was just one part of who you are." But Marcus had convinced himself that basketball was the only thing that made him special. Without it, he felt worthless. He got a part-time job stocking shelves at a small grocery store. The work was boring, but it helped Dorothy with the bills. Marcus would come home tired and frustrated every day. "This is my life now," he would say bitterly. "Stocking soup cans until I'm old." Dorothy watched her grandson struggle and felt helpless. She still kept Jordan's phone number and the photo hidden in her dresser drawer. Sometimes she would take them out and look at them, wondering if she should try to contact Jordan. But she had promised Marcus she wouldn't. And Dorothy always kept her promises. In 2006, Something small happened that started to change everything. Dorothy was having trouble with her computer at the library, where she had started taking classes. She was trying to learn how to use the internet to help Marcus find better job opportunities. "I can't figure this out," Dorothy said. Frustrated with the slow computer, a young librarian named Sarah helped her. "What are you trying to do, Mrs. Williams?" "I'm trying to learn about programs for people with disabilities. My grandson was hurt in an accident. I want to find ways to help him." Sarah spent an hour showing Dorothy how to search for information online. Dorothy learned about support groups, job training programs, and community organizations that helped people with disabilities. "There's a lot of help available," Sarah said. "Your grandson doesn't have to go through this alone." Dorothy printed out information about different programs and brought them home to Marcus. At first, he threw them in the trash. "I don't need help from anybody," he said. But Dorothy kept bringing home new information. She learned about adaptive sports programs, job training, and counseling services. She read about people who had overcome similar challenges. Slowly, very slowly, Marcus started reading some of the materials Dorothy brought home. He was still angry and depressed, but he was also getting tired of feeling sorry for himself. In 2007, Marcus finally agreed to try physical therapy again. He had stopped going after a few sessions in the hospital because it was too frustrating. But now he was ready to work on getting stronger. The physical therapist, Miss Johnson, was tough but encouraging. "You're young and strong," she told Marcus. "You can get a lot better than you are now, but you have to want it." Marcus worked hard in physical therapy for 6 months. He learned to walk better with his canes. He got stronger and more confident. For the first time since the accident, he started to feel like maybe he could have a normal life. One day in late 2007, Marcus was walking past the Garfield Community Center where he used to practice basketball. The building looked even more run-down than before. The windows were boarded up. There was a sign that said "Closed until further notice." Marcus felt sad seeing the place where he had spent so many happy hours. He thought about all the kids who used to play there. Where were they playing now? Where were they staying off the streets? He asked around the neighborhood and learned that the community center had closed because of budget cuts. The kids who used to play there had nowhere safe to go after school. Some of them were getting into trouble. "It's a shame," an old neighbor told Marcus. "Those kids need somewhere to play basketball. It kept them out of gangs." That night, Marcus couldn't stop thinking about the closed community center. He remembered how important that place had been to him when he was young. It was where he had learned to love basketball. It was where he had dreamed of becoming a professional player. Maybe he couldn't play basketball anymore, but he still understood the game better than most people. Maybe he could teach other kids what he had learned. "Grandma," Marcus said the next morning, "I want to try something." Dorothy looked up from her breakfast, surprised. Marcus hadn't shown interest in anything for years. "What do you want to try, baby?" "I want to see if I can help reopen the community center. Maybe I could teach kids how to play basketball." Dorothy's eyes filled with tears of joy. It was the first time since the accident that Marcus had talked about helping other people instead of just feeling sorry for himself. "I think that's a wonderful idea," she said. Marcus and Dorothy spent the next year working to reopen the community center. They organized fundraisers and applied for grants. They talked to city officials and community leaders. Dorothy used her computer skills to research funding opportunities. In 2008, the Garfield Community Center reopened with Marcus as the volunteer basketball coordinator. At first, only a few kids showed up. They weren't sure what to think about a coach who walked with canes. But Marcus knew how to talk to kids from tough neighborhoods. He understood their struggles because he had lived through them. He told them about working hard and never giving up, even when life got difficult. "Basketball isn't just about being the tallest or the fastest," Marcus told his players. "It's about heart. It's about never quitting, even when things look impossible." The kids listened to Marcus because they could tell he had been through hard times too. He wasn't just some adult telling them what to do. He was someone who really understood. By 2009, Marcus had 30 kids in his program. They called it Second Chance Hoops because Marcus believed everyone deserved a second chance to succeed. Some of the kids were like Marcus had been, talented players with big dreams. Others just needed a safe place to go after school. Marcus worked with all of them, teaching basketball skills and life lessons. Dorothy watched her grandson with pride. Marcus was still sad sometimes about his lost dreams. He still walked with canes and dealt with pain every day. But he had found a new purpose. He was making a difference in kids' lives. "Your parents would be so proud," Dorothy told him one evening after a successful practice. Marcus smiled. Really smiled. For the first time in years. "You think so?" "I know so. And I think someone else would be proud too." Dorothy was thinking about Michael Jordan, but she didn't say his name. Marcus still wasn't ready to talk about that part of his past. By 2010, Second Chance Hoops had grown to over 100 kids. Marcus had helped several players get scholarships to good high schools. Others had improved their grades and stayed out of trouble. Marcus realized he had found his true calling. He wasn't going to be a professional basketball player, but he was doing something even more important. He was giving hope to kids who needed it most. But Dorothy was starting to worry about something else. She was getting older and sometimes felt very tired. She was 64 years old and had worked hard her entire life. Her body was starting to show the effects of all those years of struggle. She still kept Jordan's phone number and the photo in her dresser drawer. Sometimes she wondered if she would ever get the chance to complete the story that had started so many years ago. Dorothy had no idea that her health problems were more serious than just being tired. And she had no idea that she would soon face the biggest challenge of her life. Dorothy Williams had been feeling tired for months. But she blamed it on getting older. At 72, she figured it was normal to slow down a little. She had been working hard her entire life, and her body was finally telling her to rest more. But this was different from normal tiredness. Sometimes she would climb the stairs to their apartment and feel like she couldn't breathe. Her chest would hurt, and she would have to sit down for several minutes before the feeling went away. Marcus noticed that his grandmother was moving slower than usual. "Grandma, maybe you should see a doctor," he suggested one evening after watching her struggle to carry groceries up the stairs. "I'm fine, baby," Dorothy said, trying to catch her breath. "I just need to exercise more. Maybe I'll start walking with you in the mornings." But Dorothy knew something was wrong. She just didn't want to worry Marcus. He had been through so much already. His Second Chance Hoops program was finally successful, and he seemed happy for the first time since his accident. She didn't want to burden him with her problems. Dorothy had been hiding other symptoms too. Sometimes her heart would beat very fast for no reason. Sometimes she would feel dizzy when she stood up quickly. At night she would wake up short of breath, like she had been running in her sleep. She tried to convince herself it was nothing serious. Maybe she just needed to eat better or get more sleep. But deep down, Dorothy knew these weren't normal signs of aging. In October 2018, Dorothy finally made an appointment with Dr. Chen at the community health clinic. She told Marcus she was going for a routine checkup. Nothing special. "Do you want me to come with you?" Marcus asked. He was always protective of Dorothy, especially since she had taken such good care of him after his accident. "No, baby. It's just a regular doctor visit. You have practice with the kids today anyway." Dorothy took the bus to the clinic by herself. She sat in the waiting room for an hour, watching other patients come and go. Most of them were elderly like her. Some looked very sick. Dorothy hoped she wouldn't look like that when she left. Dr. Chen was a kind woman about Marcus's age. She listened carefully as Dorothy described her symptoms: the tiredness, the shortness of breath, the chest pain, the fast heart. "How long have you been feeling this way, Mrs. Williams?" Dr. Chen asked. "Maybe 6 months," Dorothy said. "But it's gotten worse in the last few weeks." Dr. Chen listened to Dorothy's heart with her stethoscope. Her expression became serious. "Mrs. Williams, I'm hearing some irregular sounds. I'd like to do some tests to get a better picture of what's going on." The test took 2 hours. Dorothy had an EKG to check her heart rhythm. She had blood tests to check for different problems. She had a chest X-ray to look at her heart and lungs. When the tests were finished, Dr. Chen asked Dorothy to wait in her office. Dorothy sat alone for 30 minutes, getting more nervous every minute. If everything was normal, why was it taking so long to get results? Finally, Dr. Chen came back with a file full of papers. Her face was gentle, but serious. "Mrs. Williams, I have some difficult news to share with you." Dorothy's heart started beating faster. "What kind of news?" "The tests show that you have severe heart disease. Your heart is not pumping blood as well as it should. This is why you've been feeling tired and short of breath." Dorothy felt like the room was spinning. How bad is it? Dr. Chen sat down across from Dorothy and spoke gently. It's quite advanced, Mrs. Williams. I'm surprised you've been managing as well as you have. Your heart is working very hard just to keep up with normal activities. Can you fix it? Dorothy asked, though she was afraid of the answer. There are treatments that can help you feel better and slow down the progression. But I have to be honest with you. This is a serious condition. Without proper treatment, you might have 2 years, possibly less. Dorothy felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. 2 years? That wasn't nearly enough time. Marcus still needed her. The community center still needed her help. She had things she wanted to do, promises she wanted to keep. What if I do get treatment? She asked. With medication and lifestyle changes, we might be able to give you more time. Maybe 3 to 5 years. But your heart will continue to get weaker. Eventually, the treatments will stop working. Dorothy sat quietly for several minutes trying to process this information. She had always known she wouldn't live forever, but she hadn't expected to get such specific bad news. Does my grandson need to know about this right away? She asked. Dr. Chen looked surprised. Mrs. Williams, this is serious. Your family should definitely know what's happening. They can help support you through treatment. But Dorothy was already making plans in her mind. Marcus had just gotten his life back on track. His basketball program was thriving. He was happy and confident for the first time since his accident. She couldn't destroy that by telling him she was dying. I need some time to think about how to tell him, Dorothy said. Can I have a few days? Dr. Chen looked concerned. Of course. But don't wait too long. You'll need support during treatment. And if your condition gets worse suddenly, your family needs to be prepared. Dorothy took the bus home with a bag full of medications and a head full of worries. She had heart pills to take twice a day. She had instructions about changing her diet and getting more rest. She had a follow-up appointment scheduled for next month. But most importantly, she had a deadline. 2 years, maybe a little more if she was lucky. When Dorothy got home, Marcus was in the kitchen making dinner. How was your doctor appointment, Grandma? Just fine, baby. Everything looks good for someone my age. Dorothy hated lying to Marcus, but she needed time to figure out how to handle this situation. She went to her bedroom and opened her dresser drawer. Inside were the 2 things she had kept safe for 20 years: Michael Jordan's phone number and the photo he had taken of Marcus. Dorothy sat on her bed and stared at these precious items. She had always planned to give them back to Marcus someday, when he was ready to remember his old dreams. But now she was running out of time. Maybe it was time to try contacting Michael Jordan herself. Not to ask for money or favors, but to tell him what had happened to Marcus, to let him know that his kindness in 1998 had mattered, even though things hadn't turned out the way anyone expected. Dorothy had tried calling the old phone number years ago, but it was disconnected. She had written letters to the Chicago Bulls, but never received a response. She had searched on the internet at the library, but couldn't find a way to reach Jordan directly. But now she had a reason to try harder. She wanted to complete the story before it was too late. Dorothy decided not to tell Marcus about her diagnosis right away. She would wait until after the holidays, maybe until after his birthday in February. She wanted him to have a few more months of happiness before his world got complicated again. In the meantime, she would start putting her affairs in order. She would write letters to Marcus to be opened after she was gone. She would organize their important papers. She would make sure Marcus could take care of himself financially. And she would spend every day trying to find a way to contact Michael Jordan. Dorothy had no idea that her heart condition would get worse much faster than Dr. Chen had predicted. She had no idea that the COVID-19 pandemic was coming in 2020, which would make everything more difficult. And she had no idea that she would live 3 years longer than the doctors expected, giving her just enough time to complete the mission she had started 20 years earlier. 2. Dorothy Williams surprised everyone by living much longer than the doctors had predicted. Dr. Chen had said maybe 2 years, but Dorothy made it to 2021, then 2022, then 2023. She liked to joke that she was too stubborn to die on schedule. I have unfinished business, she would tell Marcus when he asked how she stayed so strong despite her heart problems. But the truth was harder than Dorothy made it sound. Every day was a struggle. She had to take 6 different heart medications. She got tired walking from the bedroom to the kitchen. Sometimes she needed oxygen to help her breathe. The COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 made everything more difficult. Dorothy couldn't go to the library to use the computers. She couldn't attend Marcus's basketball practices. She had to stay home most of the time to protect her weak heart from getting sick. Marcus became her full-time caregiver during the pandemic. He quit his part-time job at the sporting goods store to spend more time taking care of Dorothy. Money was tight, but Marcus didn't care. Dorothy had taken care of him after his accident. Now it was his turn to take care of her. "You don't have to stop working because of me," Dorothy told him. "Grandma, you took care of me for years when I couldn't take care of myself. This is what family does." During the long pandemic months, Dorothy and Marcus spent more time talking than they had in years. Dorothy told Marcus stories about his parents that she had never shared before. She talked about their family history, about their ancestors who had overcome slavery and poverty and discrimination. "Your great-great-grandmother was born into slavery," Dorothy told Marcus one evening. "But she learned to read and write in secret. She passed that knowledge down to her children. Every generation of our family has fought to make things better for the next generation." Marcus listened to these stories with new interest. He was 34 years old now, but he was still learning about where he came from. "You and your parents continued that tradition," Dorothy said. "You worked hard to get good grades and stay out of trouble. Even after your accident, you found a way to help other kids. You're part of that long line of strong people." Dorothy also told Marcus more details about the night he met Michael Jordan in 1998. Marcus had been so young that he had forgotten some of the things Jordan had said. "He told you to work hard and believe in your dreams," Dorothy said. "He promised to help you get to college if you kept your part of the deal." Marcus was quiet for a long time. "I kept my part of the deal, Grandma. I worked harder than anybody. I got good grades. I stayed out of trouble. But then the accident happened, and none of it mattered." "Oh, baby," Dorothy said, taking his hand. "It did matter. Maybe you didn't get to college the way you planned, but you found something even more important. You found a way to help other kids achieve their dreams." Dorothy explained that Jordan's promise hadn't been broken. It had just been fulfilled in a different way than anyone expected. "He promised to help you if you worked hard and believed in your dreams. You did work hard, and you found your real dreams, not just the ones you thought you wanted." Marcus began to see his life differently. Maybe his story wasn't about failure. Maybe it was about finding a different path to success. During this time, Dorothy continued her secret mission to find Michael Jordan. She couldn't go to the library anymore, but Marcus had bought a used laptop so they could video call with the kids from Second Chance Hoops during the pandemic. When Marcus wasn't looking, Dorothy used the laptop to search for ways to contact Jordan. She found his charity foundation website. She read articles about his business ventures. She watched interviews where he talked about helping disadvantaged kids. Dorothy discovered that Jordan still cared deeply about young people from poor neighborhoods. His foundation had given millions of dollars in scholarships to kids just like Marcus had been. This made Dorothy even more determined to reach him. She tried emailing the foundation, but never got a personal response. She wrote letters to Jordan's business office, but they probably never reached him. She even tried contacting sports reporters who had interviewed Jordan, hoping they could pass along a message. Nothing worked. Jordan was too famous and too busy for random messages from strangers to reach him. But Dorothy didn't give up. She started following Jordan's public appearances more carefully. She read about his charity events, his business meetings, his occasional visits to Chicago. In 2021, Dorothy saw a news article about Jordan attending a charity basketball game in Chicago. But by the time she saw the article, the event had already happened. Next time, she told herself, "I'll be ready next time." Marcus noticed that Dorothy was spending a lot of time on the computer, but he thought she was just staying in touch with friends from church or reading the news. He had no idea she was planning something that involved his past. By 2022, Dorothy's health was getting much worse. She was using oxygen most of the time now. Walking across the room made her exhausted. Some days she was too weak to get out of bed. Marcus begged her to go to the hospital, but Dorothy refused. "I'm not ready yet," she would say. "I still have something I need to do." Marcus thought she was talking about seeing him get married or having great-grandchildren. He had no idea she was talking about Michael Jordan. In late 2022, Dorothy found what she had been looking for: A small article in the Chicago Tribune mentioned that Jordan would be attending a charity basketball game at the United Center in March 2024. The event was still more than a year away, but Dorothy marked the date on her calendar immediately. March 15, 2024. Hoops for Hope. Charity game. United Center. Dorothy stared at that date and made herself a promise. She would live long enough to attend that event. She would find a way to approach Jordan and complete the story that had started 26 years earlier. The rest of 2022 and early 2023 were very difficult for Dorothy. Her heart was failing more each month. She needed Marcus's help to do everything: eating, bathing, getting dressed. But she never complained, and she never stopped planning for March. In the summer of 2023, Dorothy made a decision that surprised Marcus. She asked him to take the photograph of himself that Jordan had taken in 1998 out of her dresser drawer. "I want you to see this again," she said, handing him the old, worn photo. Marcus held the picture carefully. He hadn't looked at it in years. Seeing his young, hopeful face brought back all the memories of that magical night. "I threw this away after my accident," Marcus said. "How do you still have it?" "I took it out of the trash," Dorothy admitted. "I knew someday you'd want to remember that night differently." Marcus studied the photo for a long time. The boy in the picture looked so confident, so full of dreams. For years, Marcus had thought that boy was naive and foolish. But now he saw something different. He saw determination and courage. "That boy worked harder than anybody," Marcus said quietly. "Yes, he did. And he grew up to be a man who helps other kids work hard too." Dorothy explained that she wanted to give the photo back to Michael Jordan someday. Not to ask for anything, but to show him what had happened to the boy he had encouraged. "I want him to know that his kindness mattered," Dorothy said. "Even though your life didn't turn out the way we planned, it turned out meaningful." Marcus was moved by his grandmother's words, but he still felt embarrassed about meeting Jordan again. "Grandma, he probably doesn't even remember me. And if he does, he'd be disappointed about how things turned out." "No, baby, he'd be proud. Just like I'm proud." As 2023 went on, Dorothy got weaker and weaker. She could barely speak some days, but she kept looking at that calendar date. In January 2024, Dorothy's doctor said she probably had only a few weeks left. Her heart was too weak to keep going much longer. But Dorothy had made it this far on determination alone. She was going to make it 2 more months. "I'm not done yet," she whispered to Marcus when he asked if she wanted to go to the hospital. "Just a little bit longer." Marcus didn't understand what his grandmother was waiting for. But he stayed by her side every day, giving her the same love and care she had given him after his accident. Dorothy was saving all her strength for one final mission. She was going to meet Michael Jordan at the United Center on March 15, 2024. She was going to complete the circle that had started on a magical night, and even if it was the last thing she ever did. By February 2024, Dorothy Williams could barely get out of bed. Her breathing was so weak that she needed oxygen all the time. Marcus had to help her eat, help her take her medications, and help her do everything that used to be simple. Dr. Chen visited their apartment once a week now. She had stopped asking Dorothy to come to the clinic because Dorothy was too weak to travel. "Mrs. Williams, I really think you should consider going to the hospital," Dr. Chen said during her visit on February 10th. "We could make you more comfortable there." But Dorothy shook her head weakly. "I'm not ready for the hospital yet. I have something important to do first." Dr. Chen looked at Marcus with concerned eyes. She had been Dorothy's doctor for 6 years now, and she had never seen someone fight so hard to stay alive when their body was clearly ready to give up. "What does she need to do?" Dr. Chen asked Marcus quietly when they stepped into the kitchen. Marcus shrugged sadly. "I don't know, Doc. She won't tell me. She just keeps saying she has unfinished business." After Dr. Chen left, Marcus sat beside Dorothy's bed. His grandmother looked so small and fragile. Her hair had turned completely white. Her hands were like paper, but her eyes still had that determined look he remembered from his childhood. "Grandma, what is this thing you need to do? Maybe I can help you with it." Dorothy turned her head slowly to look at Marcus. Speaking took so much effort now that she had to choose her words carefully. "Do you remember that charity basketball game at the United Center? The one I read about in the newspaper?" Marcus thought for a moment. Dorothy had mentioned something about a basketball game months ago, but he hadn't paid much attention. I think so. What? It's on March 15th. Next month. I want to go. Marcus felt his heart break a little. Dorothy could barely sit up in bed, but she wanted to go to a basketball game? Grandma, you're too sick to go anywhere. Maybe we can watch it on TV if they show it. But Dorothy's eyes became more determined. Marcus, I need to go to that game. There's something I have to do there. Something I've been planning for a very long time. She asked Marcus to help her sit up. Then she pointed to her dresser drawer. Open the bottom drawer, baby. Bring me the small blue box. Marcus had never seen a blue box in Dorothy's dresser. But he found it in the back corner of the drawer. It was an old jewelry box that belonged to his mother. Inside were two items that made Marcus gasp. The first was the photograph Michael Jordan had taken of him in 1998. But this wasn't the same photo Marcus had thrown away after his accident. Dorothy had somehow gotten it cleaned and protected in a plastic sleeve. It looked almost new. The second item was a piece of paper, yellow, with age. Marcus recognized it immediately. It was the paper with Jordan's phone number that he had carried in his wallet for 6 years before throwing it away in anger. Grandma, Marcus whispered, where did you get these? I saved them, Dorothy said simply. I took them out of the trash. After your accident. I knew someday you'd want them back. Marcus stared at the photo and the phone number. Seeing them brought back so many memories. The hope he used to feel. The dreams he used to have. The promise Jordan had made to him. Why are you showing me these now? Marcus asked. Dorothy took a shallow breath. Because I want to give them back to him. I want to give them back to Michael Jordan. Marcus looked confused. Give them back? What? He's going to be at that charity game on March 15th. I've been waiting for this chance for 6 years. I want to tell him what happened to you. I want him to know that his kindness mattered. Marcus felt overwhelmed. Grandma, that was 26 years ago. He probably doesn't even remember me. He'll remember, Dorothy said with certainty. A man like that doesn't forget a promise. He'll remember. Marcus sat quietly for several minutes, holding the photo and the phone number. Part of him was curious about seeing Jordan again, but another part of him was terrified. What if he's disappointed in how my life turned out? Marcus asked. What if he thinks I wasted my potential? Dorothy reached over and took Marcus's hand with her weak fingers. Baby, you didn't waste anything. You became exactly who you were supposed to become. You help kids every day. You give them hope. You teach them to work hard and never give up. That's more important than any basketball game. But Marcus still felt nervous about the idea. Grandma, you're too sick to go to the United Center. It's too far, and there will be too many people. Dorothy's voice became stronger than it had been in weeks. Marcus Williams. I have been planning this for 6 years. I have lived longer than any doctor said I would so I could complete this mission. I am going to that game, even if I have to crawl there. Marcus had never heard his grandmother speak so forcefully about anything. He realized this wasn't just a wish for Dorothy. It was something she needed to do before she died. Okay, Grandma, Marcus said finally. If you really want to go, I'll take you. But we'll need to rent a wheelchair and bring your oxygen tank. Dorothy smiled for the first time in weeks. Thank you, baby. This means everything to me. Over the next few days, Marcus started making plans for March 15th. He called the United Center and asked about wheelchair accessibility. He researched how to transport Dorothy's oxygen equipment. He even called Dr. Chen to ask if it was safe for Dorothy to travel. It's risky, Dr. Chen admitted. But if this is really important to her, it might be worth it. Sometimes people need to complete important tasks before they can let go. Marcus didn't fully understand what Dorothy was trying to accomplish, but he could see how important it was to her. She spent every day preparing for the trip. She had him practice getting her in and out of the wheelchair. She planned what she would wear. She even practiced what she would say to Jordan if she got the chance to meet him. I'll tell him that you kept your promise, Dorothy said. You worked hard, you believed in your dreams, and you found a way to help other kids. I'll tell him he should be proud. The week before the game, Dorothy's health got much worse. She could barely stay awake for more than an hour at a time. She needed help drinking water. Marcus started to think maybe they should cancel the trip. But on March 14th, the day before the game, Dorothy seemed to get a second wind. She was more alert than she had been in weeks. She asked Marcus to help her shower and put on her best dress. Tomorrow is the day, she said. Tomorrow I finish what I started. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about seeing Michael Jordan again after all these years. He kept wondering what Jordan would think of him now. Would Jordan remember that skinny 12-year-old with the big dreams? Marcus looked at the photo one more time before going to bed. The boy in the picture looked so young and hopeful. That boy had no idea what was coming. The accident, the depression, the long road to recovery. But he also had no idea about the good things that would come. The kids he would help, the lives he would change, the love he would share. Maybe Dorothy was right. Maybe his life had turned out exactly the way it was supposed to. The next morning, March 15th, Dorothy woke up with more energy than she had shown in months. "Today's the day, baby," she said to Marcus. "Today we complete the circle." Marcus helped Dorothy get dressed in her purple coat, the same coat she had worn to every important event in her life. He loaded her oxygen tank and wheelchair into their neighbor's car. He made sure he had the photo and the phone number safely in his pocket. As they drove toward the United Center, Dorothy held Marcus's hand tightly. "Whatever happens today," she said, "I want you to know how proud I am of you. Your parents would be proud too." Marcus squeezed her hand back. "I love you, Grandma." "I love you too, baby. Now let's go see Michael Jordan." March 15, 2024. United Center. The United Center was buzzing with excitement when Marcus wheeled Dorothy through the front entrance. 500 people filled the arena for the Hoops for Hope charity basketball game. Kids ran around in their favorite jerseys. Parents held up phones to take pictures. The energy in the building was electric. Dorothy sat in her wheelchair, wearing her purple coat and breathing through the oxygen tube in her nose. She looked tiny and fragile, but her eyes were bright with determination. She clutched a small purse in her lap that contained the most precious things she owned. "Are you okay, Grandma?" Marcus asked, pushing her wheelchair slowly through the crowd. "We can leave anytime if you get too tired." "I'm fine, baby," Dorothy said, though her voice was weak. "I've been waiting 6 years for this moment. I'm not leaving until we find him." Marcus scanned the crowd, looking for Michael Jordan. He felt nervous and excited at the same time. After 26 years, he was about to see his childhood hero again. The man who had believed in him when he was just a skinny kid with big dreams. They found seats near the court where Dorothy could see everything clearly. Marcus parked her wheelchair next to the accessible seating area and sat down beside her. "Look at all these kids," Dorothy said, watching children play basketball on a small court set up for them. "They remind me of you when you were young," Marcus smiled. "Some of them remind me of the kids in my program. Same dreams, same determination." They waited for an hour before Jordan arrived. When he walked into the arena, the crowd erupted in cheers. Even at 61 years old, Jordan still commanded attention like no one else. He wore a perfect black suit, and his famous confident smile. Marcus felt his heart racing. There was Michael Jordan, just 50 feet away. The same man who had made him a promise in a parking lot 26 years ago. "There he is," Dorothy whispered. "Just like I remembered him." Jordan started signing autographs and taking pictures with fans. He moved through the crowd easily, talking to kids and parents. Marcus could see that Jordan genuinely enjoyed these events. He wasn't just going through the motions. He really cared about the people he met. "When should we approach him?" Marcus asked. He was getting more nervous by the minute. "We wait for the right moment," Dorothy said. "When there aren't too many people around him. I want to be able to talk to him properly." They watched Jordan for another hour. He signed basketballs and jerseys. He posed for dozens of selfies. He talked to young players about working hard and chasing their dreams. The same advice he had given Marcus all those years ago. Finally, there was a brief break in the crowd around Jordan. He was standing near the court, checking his phone. Dorothy knew this was her chance. "Now, Marcus, take me to him now." Marcus pushed Dorothy's wheelchair toward Jordan. As they got closer, Marcus could feel his hands shaking. What would Jordan think of him? Would he remember that night in? Dorothy reached into her purse and pulled out the plastic sleeve containing the old photograph. Her hands were trembling, but her voice was steady. "Mr. Jordan," she said quietly. Jordan looked up from his phone. When he saw the elderly woman in the wheelchair, his expression immediately became kind and attentive. "Yes, ma'am. How can I help you?" This was the moment Dorothy had been planning for 6 years. She had practiced these words hundreds of times, but now her throat felt dry and her heart was beating fast. "I have something for you," she said, holding out the photograph with both hands. Jordan took the photo carefully. The moment he looked at it, his entire demeanor changed. His smile disappeared. His eyes widened. His hands began to shake, just like Dorothy's. The photo showed a 12-year-old boy in a faded Bulls jersey, holding a basketball with hope and determination in his eyes. Jordan stared at the picture like he was seeing a ghost. Marcus watched Jordan's reaction with amazement. After all these years, Jordan remembered. He actually remembered that night in the parking lot. The crowd around them started to notice that something important was happening. People stopped talking and turned to watch. The noise in the arena seemed to fade away. "Where did you get this?" Jordan whispered, his voice barely audible. Dorothy smiled through the tears that were starting to form in her eyes. This was the moment she had lived for. "That's my grandson, Marcus. He said you'd remember him." Jordan looked up from the photo and saw Marcus standing behind the wheelchair. Even though Marcus was now 38 years old, even though he was using canes to walk, Jordan recognized him immediately. "Marcus," Jordan said, his voice cracking with emotion. "Oh my God. Marcus Williams." The crowd had gone completely silent now. 500 people were watching Michael Jordan cry over an old photograph, but no one understood why. Jordan knelt down next to Dorothy's wheelchair, still holding the photo. Tears were streaming down his face. "I've thought about you so many times over the years," Jordan said to Marcus. "I wondered what happened to you. I tried to find you, but we moved after high school," Marcus said, his own voice shaking with emotion. "And then after my accident, I threw away your phone number. I was too proud to call you." "Accident?" Jordan asked, looking concerned. Marcus gestured to his canes. "Car accident in 2004. 2 weeks before graduation, my basketball career ended that night." Jordan's face showed genuine pain. "Marcus, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." Dorothy reached out and gently touched Jordan's arm. "Mr. Jordan, I want you to know something. You kept your promise." Jordan looked confused. "What do you mean? I never got the chance to help him with college." This was the moment Dorothy had been waiting for. The chance to complete the story that had started 26 years ago. "You promised to help him if he worked hard and believed in his dreams." He did work hard. He got perfect grades, he stayed out of trouble. He was going to accept a scholarship to Duke University. Jordan listened intently as Dorothy continued. "After his accident, Marcus was lost for a while. But then he found his real purpose. He started a program called Second Chance Hoops for kids in our neighborhood. He's helped over 300 children learn basketball and stay off the streets. Some of them have gotten college scholarships because of what Marcus taught them." Jordan looked at Marcus with new understanding. "You became a coach?" "More than that," Dorothy said proudly. "He became hope for kids who didn't have any. He teaches them the same things you taught him that night. Work hard, believe in yourself, never give up." Jordan stood up slowly, wiping tears from his eyes. The entire arena was watching this extraordinary moment unfold. "Marcus," Jordan said, his voice full of emotion, "you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You kept your promise, and I kept mine. Just not the way we thought it would happen." Dorothy smiled with satisfaction. After 6 years of planning, she had finally completed her mission. She had shown Michael Jordan that his kindness in 1998 had created ripples that were still spreading 26 years later. But she wasn't finished yet. There was one more thing she needed to say. "Mr. Jordan," she said softly, "I'm dying. I have maybe a few weeks left. I used all my strength to come here today because I needed you to know that your promise mattered. Marcus's life has meaning because of what you said to him that night." The crowd around them gasped. This was no longer just a celebrity meeting fans. This was something much deeper and more profound. Jordan knelt down again and took Dorothy's frail hands in his strong ones. "Thank you," he said simply. "Thank you for raising such an incredible man. Thank you for keeping this photo safe. All these years. Thank you for coming here today to complete our story." Dorothy nodded weakly. Her mission was finally complete. March 15, 2024. United Center. Jordan stood up slowly, still holding the precious photograph. The entire arena was silent, waiting to see what would happen next. He looked from Dorothy to Marcus, then back at the photo of the young boy with such big dreams. "There's something else I need to tell you both," Jordan said, his voice still thick with emotion. "Something I should have told you 26 years ago." Dorothy looked up at him with tired but curious eyes. Marcus leaned forward on his canes, wondering what Jordan could possibly say that would matter after all this time. Jordan took a deep breath. "Marcus, you did inspire something that night we met. Something bigger than either of us realized." The crowd pressed closer, trying to hear every word. Jordan's voice was quiet but clear. "After I met you in 1998, I couldn't stop thinking about your determination. Here was this skinny kid practicing basketball alone in the dark, working harder than players twice his size. You reminded me why I fell in love with basketball in the first place." Jordan paused, choosing his words carefully. "A few months later, I started a scholarship program. I called it the Second Chance Foundation. It was specifically for kids from tough backgrounds who showed the same kind of heart you showed me that night." Marcus felt his legs go weak. He had to grip his canes tighter to stay standing. "You started a foundation because of me?" Marcus asked in disbelief. "Not just because of you," Jordan said, "but you were the inspiration. I kept thinking about that 12-year-old boy who wouldn't give up, even when the other kids went home. I wanted to help kids just like you." Dorothy's eyes filled with tears. Even in her weakened state, she understood the importance of what Jordan was saying. Jordan continued, "Over the years, the foundation has given scholarships to over 400 kids. We've helped them go to college, get good jobs, and break cycles of poverty. All because of what I learned from watching you practice that night." The crowd around them was completely silent. They were witnessing something extraordinary, a story that had taken 26 years to complete. "But that's not all," Jordan said. "About 5 years ago, one of our scholarship recipients mentioned a basketball coach who had helped him. A man named Marcus Williams who ran a program called Second Chance Hoops." Marcus's mouth dropped open. "You knew about my program?" "I tried to find you then," Jordan said. "But the paperwork had a different last name. I couldn't track you down. I had my assistant search for months, but we couldn't make the connection." Jordan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "This is a letter from that young man telling me how you changed his life. How you taught him to work hard and never give up. How you helped him get a scholarship to college." Dorothy started crying harder. "You see, Marcus? You see how your life mattered?" Jordan knelt down next to Dorothy's wheelchair again. "Mrs. Williams, your grandson kept his promise in ways he doesn't even realize. He worked hard, he believed in his dreams, and when those dreams changed, he found new ones. He's helped more kids than I ever could have with just one college scholarship." The crowd began to understand they were witnessing something special. Some people started clapping quietly. Others wiped tears from their eyes. Jordan stood up and faced the crowd. His voice became stronger, carrying across the arena. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "this is Marcus Williams. 26 years ago, he was a 12-year-old boy with impossible dreams. Today, he's a man who makes impossible dreams come true for other kids." The applause started small but grew louder. Soon the entire arena was clapping for Marcus. Kids were cheering. Parents were wiping away tears. Marcus felt overwhelmed. For so many years, he had thought his life was a failure. He had thought he had disappointed everyone, especially Michael Jordan. But now he understood the truth. Jordan wasn't finished. "Marcus, I want to do something. The Second Chance Foundation wants to make you our official youth coordinator. We want to expand your Second Chance Hoops program to other cities. We want to help you reach even more kids." Marcus couldn't speak. He looked down at Dorothy, who was smiling despite her tears. "And," Jordan continued, "we're prepared to donate $500,000 to get started." The crowd erupted in cheers. Marcus felt like he was dreaming. This couldn't be real. Dorothy reached up and took Marcus's hand. "You see, baby, you kept your promise. And so did he. Just not the way we thought it would happen." Jordan handed the photograph back to Dorothy. "You keep this," he said. "It belongs to your family. But I want you to know that this picture represents something beautiful. It represents a promise kept, a dream fulfilled, and a life that has touched hundreds of other lives." Dorothy held the photo against her heart. "Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Thank you for remembering. Thank you for caring about a little boy with big dreams. Thank you, Jordan said, for raising that little boy into the man he became. The crowd continued cheering as Jordan shook Marcus's hand and gently hugged Dorothy. Reporters pushed forward to capture the moment. Cameras flashed everywhere. But Dorothy was already getting tired. The excitement and emotion of the day had drained her last reserves of strength. "Marcus," she whispered, "I think it's time to go home now." Marcus immediately stopped shaking hands with people and focused on his grandmother. "Of course, Grandma. Let's get you home." Jordan overheard and came over. "Is there anything I can do? Do you need help getting home?" "We'll be fine," Marcus said. "Thank you for everything. Thank you for remembering. I could never forget," Jordan said simply. As Marcus wheeled Dorothy toward the exit, the crowd parted to let them through. People clapped quietly as they passed. Kids reached out to touch Marcus's hand or Dorothy's wheelchair. In the car on the way home, Dorothy was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "Marcus, I can rest now. I completed my mission. I told our story. And I learned something beautiful. Sometimes when dreams break, they become something even more wonderful." Marcus reached over and held her hand. "I love you, Grandma. Thank you for never giving up on me. I love you too, baby. And I'm so proud of the man you became." 2 weeks later, Dorothy Williams died peacefully, in her sleep. She had used the last of her strength to complete a promise she had made to herself 6 years earlier. At her funeral, Michael Jordan sat in the front row next to Marcus. He told everyone about the brave moment who had traveled across the city while dying just to complete a story about kindness and keeping promises. The Second Chance Foundation established the Dorothy Williams Memorial Scholarship in her honor. Every year, it helps kids from difficult backgrounds achieve their dreams, just like Marcus had achieved his, in ways he never expected. Marcus kept the photograph on his desk at the expanded Second Chance Hoops facility. Whenever kids asked him about giving up on their dreams, he would show them the picture and tell them Dorothy's story. He would tell them that sometimes the best promises are the ones that get kept in ways we never imagined. That was the end of this incredible story about Dorothy Williams, Marcus, and Michael Jordan. A tale that reminds us how one small act of kindness can create ripples that last for decades. Where are you listening from today? We'd love to hear from our viewers around the world in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories just like this one. We share real tales of hope, determination, and the power of human kindness every week. Most importantly, please share this video with your friends and family. Stories like Dorothy's remind us that kindness matters, that promises can be kept in unexpected ways, and that sometimes our greatest purpose comes from our greatest challenges. Help us spread kindness and awareness by sharing this story. You never know whose life might be changed by hearing about Dorothy's unwavering love, Marcus's incredible journey, or Michael Jordan's lasting impact on young lives. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the best promises are the ones that get kept in ways we never imagined. See you in the next story.